Good evening, everyone. Welcome to LATAM Business Opportunities. I see plenty of people are joining now. If you'd like to put into the chat box where you're coming from, just which part of the country you're coming from, that would be great, so we know who we're talking with. Oh, we've got someone from Bedford and Mexico City, and Will from London. Welcome. Hello, Vanessa. Oh, someone from Somerset. Datchet. And Venezuelan living in Scotland. Hello, Adrina. And Neil's in Stockholm now. Hello, Francesco. And Richard from Hopenden. And Paul Ferreres. Just give it a couple more minutes to let everybody join. Hello, Michael from London, but originally from Brazil. And Stuart Wittering there in Leicester. Oh, someone says they can't see the chat, so down in the bottom of the screen there is a, if you move your mouse to the bottom of the screen, there is the menu bar will come up, and I think there's a chat box on there. Oh, there's Andrew from London. Well, this is Andrew, but I'm in Hampshire. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the LATAM Business Opportunities with the IoD and support from the Argentine embassy, the Mexican embassy, and the trade associations. Can we have the next slide, please? So this is the running order for the evening. We have some keynote speakers. We are fortunate to be joined by Jonathan Knott, the Trade Commissioner for LATAM, and the Argentine and Mexican ambassadors, followed by at 18:30 with a panel discussion. 18:50 we'll have a Q&A session. 9 o'clock we'll start a round table group. For the round table session, you will need to log out of this session of Zoom and join to another session of Zoom, but we will post the link at that time. So next slide, please. So this is part of the IoD Business Extra series, this event. This is a regular series of events which are organised by the various SIGs in the London region. We've had events on education, sustainability, ERP digital, and we as the International Trade Group have run events on supply chain and in Portugal. And this was really invented, really brought about as a way to keep people connected during the lockdown, and is likely to continue as a regular series of events alongside physical events when they restart later this year. So next slide, please. If you're not a member of the IoD, there are some of the reasons that you might want to join. You could become a community of directors. We have about 20,000 members across the UK and overseas. We're very active in lobbying. We were very instrumental with lobbying on directors' behalves about the furlough, the bounce back loan, and the civil schemes. We do quite extensive professional development, and through the Royal Charter for the IoD, we're the only organisation that can give you a chartered Institute a Chartered Director certification. And we have the very useful business information services, legal and tax helpline. We run a lot of networking events, and there are a number of premises across the UK. There are 18 premises. So I'm Andrew Lambert. I should have introduced myself at the beginning. I'm the chair of the International Trade SIG, and we sort of we specialise in promoting both inward investment and export activities, and have a active community to encourage that. We've run events on supply chain. We've had events with Poland, and we're looking forward to physical events again later this year, when hopefully we will do something with the Argentine embassy and also at the US embassy. We're going to start publishing a series of blogs, so do look out for those. And we're quite involved with a Japanese initiative with the Japanese Association of Corporate Executives. So that's those are some of the reasons why you should join the IoD, join our fellowship and community. But also we have these active SIGs. As I said, some of them include the education, sustainability, and ERP. I'd now like to introduce you to David Stringer-Lamar, who is the chair of the London region, and he will host the next session. David, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Andrew, and welcome to everybody joining us for tonight's digital event. So great to see people joining us from all over the globe, which is a terrific advantage, I suppose, something good that has come out of this COVID situation that we find ourselves in. As Andrew's kindly mentioned, we have many members, many business leaders here in the United Kingdom, and we also have 10 overseas branches, and the closest one to Latin America, we have the branch in Bermuda. So hopefully, perhaps in the future, we might be having an IoD branch, hopefully in Latin America. So that's something to look forward to. We've also very connected with international trade and helping to make business happen. Certainly, as Andrew's mentioned, we're all about connectivity and putting people together and creating a community of business leaders. So you've got the chat down there. Do let us know something about yourself as well and your business. And let's get connecting here, because these are what all these sessions are particularly about. I'm very excited to be involved with this Central London branch, the world's biggest branch event, and the International Trade Special Interest Group for Latin America, South America. In fact, when we started our company, I run a company called Fortis Consulting London, and in fact, one of the great inspirers to that was a lady called Sandra Gomez, who was from Colombia, and introduced me to lots of people in Latin America. And I'm very pleased to say that although I've not visited Colombia yet, it is on my list post-COVID. I have been to Argentina and Mexico and several other countries in Latin America. So this is very exciting indeed. So we're going to have 3 experts from obviously the United Kingdom. Then we have Argentina and Mexico. They've all got 5 minutes each to deliver their expertise. I'll give them a 1 minute courtesy reminder as we go through. We've got a slight change in the speakers we'll be having, but I'll go through that as we get to it. Let's get ourselves moving. The first one then, Jonathan Knott, Her Majesty's Commissioner for Trade Commissioner for Latin America and the Caribbean. Jonathan, sir, over to you.
David, thanks very much. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Mucho gusto, mucho prazer. It's very nice to see you all this evening. I'm Jonathan Knott. I'm the Trade Commissioner, the British Trade Commissioner for Latin America and the Caribbean. My job is essentially to help British businesses do more business in Latin America and the Caribbean, to encourage good trade between our country, Latin America and the Caribbean, to encourage investments going both ways as well. It's not just me. I have a team of 160 people up and down the continent whose jobs are to help British businesses succeed and grow up and down the region. Now, right now, I am new to the job, super enthusiastic, not just because I'm new, but because also I think this is a key moment. I think this is a key moment because the environment we're in is changing, has changed, and will change. And that presents new opportunities for British business in this part of the world. It has changed because we've come out of Europe, we've come out of the EU. We have, as a country now, our own bespoke trade policy. As part of that, we're looking to engage in new bespoke free trade agreements around the world, including in Latin America. And the idea there is that suddenly these agreements can make it so much easier for good trade to come both ways, into the UK, from the UK, into this region. Second thing which we're looking at is to make sure that any barriers to trade over and above that are brought down as far as we can. That's talking to the governments of Latin America, identifying where British business is struggling because there are barriers to free trade, and trying to bring those down or reduce them. A big, big part of what we're doing. Now, the other part of what we're doing is publicizing the opportunities. Publicizing the opportunities which exist in Latin America to British businesses like yourself, and equally to the opportunities for partnerships with British business, which Latin American companies might not know about. Now, that's exciting to me, and then we come on to the environment here, because we're in a very dynamic environment right now. Now, because of the tragedy of COVID and the ongoing challenges that's brought us, I mean, unfortunately, and this is obviously a terrible result of that, economies around the world have taken a knock. What we all need to do now is to build back, to quote the Prime Minister, to build back better, to build back greener. And that's what we can do now. So my hope, my expectation, if you like, is that British companies, British business people, as well as Latin American business people, are going to see the opportunities which we have together to build back better, to build back greener, to grow our economies, to grow our companies, to start to employ more people. That's good for business, it's good for our societies too. So that, if you like, is my mission. That's what I'd like to do. But above all, I'd like to help British business achieve what they would like to do by exporting to Latin America. It's part of the world which, frankly, British business hasn't been involved enough in over the last 30 years or so. I did a little piece with the FT a while ago in which this came out. There are so many opportunities, we need to grab them. If you're listening today, if you're interested in how we in government, how I as Trade Commissioner with a team of 160 can help you, please connect up. I'm on LinkedIn, that's probably the easiest way. Find me on LinkedIn, drop me a line, connect up, let us help you to grow and do business in Latin America. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much indeed, Jonathan. Very upbeat, very much in line with the IoD is looking to do. I'm taking away from that, help UK business do more business. Very pleased you've got 160 people to help us do that. You're encouraging investment both ways. And I like this whole angle, really highlighting the opportunities, not just to British businesses, but also to Latin American businesses about the opportunities they may have engaging with British business. And also reducing barriers to free trade, which is always very important, particularly those invisible or hidden barriers. Build back better, build back greener, because that's good, because the IoD's got a whole team looking at the sustainability agenda. And you've got behind me the City of London, where we're based. Obviously, green finance, UK, a big leader in that. And I like your bit there. British businesses not been involved enough in Latin America. And you ended us connect together, where we started from my words as well. So Jonathan, thank you very much indeed for that, sir. Let us now move on to our next speaker. And I'm very pleased to say that we have Valeria Gonzalez Posse, who's the head of trade and economy, joining us from the Embassy of Argentina. Valeria, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to participate in this event organized by the Institute of Directors and Chambers of Commerce. As Jonathan has mentioned, there is certainly a lot to do in terms of UK-Latin America trade relations. The fact that the region represents less than 1% of the UK's total trade speaks volumes. We share his view that it is a key moment and that there are many opportunities to be taken advantage of. We welcome Jonathan's appointment and believe that he will shine a spotlight on the region and that the wonderful opportunities that await UK businesses are going to come through. We also welcome this initiative by the Institute of Directors to hold this session. It is through initiatives such as this and strong and concerted efforts by government that due awareness will be brought to the region. Brexit and COVID has shown us that expanding trade relations, as highlighted under the UK's new trade policies, is the right way to go. That's why we believe that even within the region, the UK should look beyond those countries with whom the UK already has rollover trade agreements. In terms of trade, there has been an uptick in the UK-Argentina trade during 2020. And while we view this as an encouraging sign, there still remains a lot to be done. We believe making UK export finance more accessible to UK companies wishing to do business in Argentina by perhaps streamlining its procedures would be a step in the right direction. Argentina presents great investment and trade opportunities for UK companies. I will briefly refer to some of these sectors. In mining, Argentina's richness comprises a huge territorial extension for sustainable mining activity, 3/4 of which still remained unexplored. It is rich in lithium, gold, silver, and copper, to name a few. In the particular case of lithium, Argentina has been working very actively with the British Geological Survey and the London Metal Exchange for the establishment of a reference price. There are many fiscal incentives for mining in Argentina. In the field of oil and gas, Argentina has a long history as a world-class producer with high-level natural resources, professionals and technicians that create sound conditions for the oil industry growth in the country as well. With abundant reserves, Argentina has the potential to become a world-class energy supplier, joining the global energy market via oil and gas exports. There is plenty of room for newcomers in Vaca Muerta, as only 4% of its 35,000 square kilometer territory is currently in a mass development phase. In agro-industry, probably the sector most commonly associated with Argentina, as it is renowned for its agricultural industry, it is blessed with an excellent climate, rich soil, and human capital with a long history in the industry, as well as a high acquisition of technology to work the land. There are opportunities in animal protein to increase livestock production and to address the increasing local demand due to the country's grain surplus. Excellent health conditions because our stocks are free of avian flu, swine fever, and African swine fever virus, as well as free of the foot and mouth disease with and without vaccination. There are opportunities in the forest industry area. Argentina has 1.3 million hectares of planted forest, with one of the best yields in the world and the potential to develop major industrial projects related to wood processing. There are opportunities to include harnessing wood residues as a renewable energy source and may be of interest to multilateral entities, climate funding, and carbon credits. In the area of organic foods, Argentina is the second largest area in the world for organic food production and has all the resources to become a strong competitor at a global level, as well as the potential to double the country's production of organic fruit and vegetables. In global services, this industry is a mature sector in Argentina with over a decade of constant growth, favored by its human capital talent, time zone benefits, business environment, and the quality of its local technological infrastructure. Argentina is frontrunner in software development and export with over 4,000 companies in the field. It is Latin America's benchmark and technological service applied to agro-industry and is gaining momentum in video game and fintech fields.
1 minute courtesy reminder.
In the telecommunications and media technology, Argentina offers a great opportunity for infrastructure investment due to its strategic geographical location in the region. Argentina has the capacity for capturing a digital traffic increase at a local and regional level. This provides a clear opportunity to address the increasing demand, improve connectivity quality and speed, and make room for new technologies such as 5G. In the next 5 years, the antenna network growth is expected to generate investment opportunities worth over $5 billion. Tourism, it may not seem like the the top place to do investments right now with all the COVID. But Argentina has a unique landscapes, variety of climates and ecosystems, as well as cultural and gastroeconomic appeal, making it a world-class destination with a huge growth potential. And this is reflected by the increasing number of international tourists. It receives more than 7 million tourists every year. Argentina offers exceptional conditions for projects in the field in tune with the new trends and requirements which are becoming more demanding in the context of the pandemic. With its unique commitment for the preservation of natural areas, Argentina invites investors to develop ecotourism projects in which services, sustainable infrastructure, and contact with nature can be combined. To finalize, we at the Embassy would like to avail ourselves, as well as Susanna Eggleston from the British Argentine Chamber of Commerce, to answer your question and assist your companies in any demands you might have. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Valeria, for that. Very, very interesting indeed. And I like the way it chimes in with increasing awareness, because I do think, British business has not been looking at Latin America as much as we should have been doing. So anything that can raise awareness, I think is a great idea. And you mentioned about expanding trade. I'm very pleased to hear that in 2020, although not enough, UK-Argentine trade has gone up. And then you mentioned the whole range of opportunities: mining, oil and gas, agro-industry, forest, organic food, software. I think you said video gaming in there as well, digital infrastructure and tourism. And I can say that when I went to Argentina, I very much enjoyed visiting. And one of my favorite wines, if I can mention it, is Malbec by Catena. Obviously, other producers are available. But no, excellent. Thank you very much indeed for that. Moving on now to our third expert speaker. It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Irene Aguirre, the Ambassador of Mexico. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, David, and good evening to the fantastic audience we have today. I would like to start by thanking the Institute of Directors for the kind invitation to this very timely event. It is an honor for me to have the opportunity to address you at this key moment, as Jonathan mentioned, a challenging time when the COVID-19 pandemic has put us all to the test. It is a test for our economies, our societies, for humanity. Health and consequent economic crisis demonstrate that today's global challenges require not only collective actions to find common solutions, but, and I will refer here to the United Nations Secretary General motto, to build back better, as Jonathan also mentioned. Latin America is one of the regions hardest hit by the coronavirus, which, according to a recent study prepared by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, has led to an unprecedented crisis, both economically and socially, pushing millions back into poverty. This triple crisis, health, economic, and social ones, are interrelated and give us an opportunity to truly rebuild better, where I'm certain strengthening public and private synergies will be fundamental. We need to adopt ways of collaboration, strengthen mechanisms and instruments to promote a more resilient and sustainable economic recovery. This is why, with this event, by leading this effort, the Institute of the Directors, our region's chambers of commerce, and all of you are contributing to do so. And after saying this, I would like to especially thank the Mexican Chamber of Commerce and its president, Gabriel Anguiano, for its vital role in representing and promoting the interests of Mexican companies in the UK. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of Jonathan Knott, who last week at a Sustainable Infrastructure course for Latin America organized by the Infrastructure and Projects Authority, gave a very clear and complete overview of bilateral associations within the Global Britain strategy and the relevance of refocusing investment towards a long-term and resilient perspective. At this moment, when the UK is going through an even broader redefinition, that of its relationship with Europe and its role in the global stage, definitely Latin America has to be there. And before leaving the floor to the experts, I would like to share some thoughts on relevant figures about my country. The Global Britain strategy opens a space for us, for Mexico and the UK, to agree on a new and broad framework that will benefit both our societies, our business communities. We have a strong base to build upon and a clear sense of direction established in the Partnership for a Sustainable and Inclusive Growth, subscribed in 2019 by both countries, and more recently with the signing last December of a bilateral trade continuity agreement, securing the preferential tariff regime and avoiding any bilateral trade disruption with our 5th trading partner in Europe and 13 globally. Trade between the two countries, even amidst the pandemic, was $4.4 billion in 2020, of which 2.6 were Mexican exports and 1.8 imports. With the TCA ratified by the Mexican Senate last month, Mexico and the UK not only guarantee continuity, but also paved the way to negotiate a more advanced and ambitious bilateral free trade agreement in the coming months. Mexico truly is a global player. We have the 15th largest economy in the world, with a GDP worth over $1 trillion. We are the 2nd largest economy in Latin America, a founding member of the G20. We sit at the United Nations Security Council as an elected member for the term 2021-22, and President pro tempore of the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States.
1 minute as a reminder.
Mexico is a country of multiple belongings as the northernmost country in the region. Mexico acts as a bridge that connects Latin America with North America and many other territories. We are privileged to have maritime access bridging 2 of the largest oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic. We have the largest Spanish-speaking population, and we are enrolled with deep Latin American roots while we keep tight bonds with Europe and Asia Pacific. And in this regard, Mexico is an active member of international organizations such as APEC and the Pacific Alliance, the most innovative and effective regional integration initiative that brings together Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and Peru, and that among other milestones has agreed over 96% of free tariffs in our regional trading of goods. Just to give you an idea of the relevance of Mexico's links to North America, one of the most dynamic trade blocs in the world, the European Union being the other one, Mexico is the 2nd trading partner of the United States, only behind China. In January 2020 alone, Mexico imported $29 billion worth of goods, which is more than Germany and Japan combined. Mexico is a global free trade champion and one of the most open economies in Latin America and the world, with a strong network of 47 free trade agreements, including the TCA with the UK I just mentioned, our revised agreement with North American partners, modernized agreement with the European Union, and the ambitious, comprehensive, and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP, which brings together the most dynamic economies in the world. We are also a manufacturing powerhouse that accounts for over 70% of all Latin American manufacturing exports, 80% of which we are advanced manufacturers. And Mexico is also Latin America's 2nd destination of foreign direct investment, with nearly $30 billion in 2020, and the world's 7th tourism destination, receiving over 40 million international visitors in 2019 before the pandemic outbreak. While Mexico's macroeconomic fundamentals have remained resilient throughout the past decades, including through the pandemic, we are facing unprecedented challenges that, as I mentioned earlier, will only be overcome by bringing together all sectors of society and the international community. It is an honor to be joined today by a distinguished lineup who will provide first-hand viewpoints on recent developments in key sectors of the Mexican economy and investment opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, and I would like to reaffirm it, the strengthening of synergies between the public and private sectors must be at the center of any economic recovery strategy in the immediate future, in which development is understood beyond quantitative indicators, addressing social and well-being aspects as well. The promotion of growth through international trade and investment and the reduction of poverty and inequality are two sides of the same coin. So thank you very much, and I wish you all a very, very fruitful event. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed. You provide an enormous amount of information in the short time that you had. So thank you very much indeed. I like the focus on this building back better, but obviously it's got to be a collective, not just between public and private, but also all the countries of the world coming together to drive it forward. We do need a substantial and sustainable recovery, as you mentioned. I'm very pleased to hear that Mexico, with the UK, fifth trading partner here in Europe, and that trade has gone up 1.8 billion imports. I think you mentioned USA. Good to hear, of course, Mexico, the bridge between Latin America and North America, maritime access, Asia, Americas, Europe, surely a very important place as well, bringing us all together. So a great linchpin, I think, within today's event. And as you will know, the UK is very much interested at the moment within the CPTPP. Don't say that too often after a glass of wine. And I think bringing it all together, thank you very much. Mexico sounds like a terrifically interesting place. And I certainly enjoyed my visit to your lovely country. Now, we've heard from our three experts, many strands there. UK, let's get involved with some more business. Latin America, Mexico, etc. Let's bring opportunities to everybody's attention so we can evaluate them and hopefully do some business together. And coming back to what Jonathan was talking about, build back better, build back greener. I'd now like to hand over to the powerhouse behind the world's biggest branch, Central London branch, the chair, Rina Dayal. Chair, over to you, Rina.
Thank you very much, David. Always such a pleasure to be hosting a program with you. I think that's the power of IoD. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again from my side to all of you. What an inspiration we have had with the three speakers thus far. Absolutely fantastic. So we're going to move into the second part of this evening's conversation. But before that, a couple of administration aspects that I want to share with you. One, this webinar is being recorded, and of course that's because we want to make it available to a lot of people who had registered for this program. We had more than 200 people who registered for the program, and then we were going to offer them the recording. So please be aware of it, that this is being recorded and will be shared with you and everyone who's registered for this program. The second, the most important thing which has already started happening on the chat is that you all have been sharing your LinkedIn links, which is great. That's exactly what we encourage. But sometimes it's really difficult to stay connected with those chat messages. So Vanessa, who is a marketing ambassador of Central London, as well as the acting vice chair, will be putting up a link on the chat, which is a LinkedIn group, which is a post. It's a great way to stay connected. If you can comment or like it, then people can stay connected with you. And it's very, very obvious that a lot of people in this group today are ready to trade. So let's get into the next part of the conversation, which is, so what are the brass tacks of how do we trade in these countries? What are the do's and don'ts? What are the challenges? Where do we start? How do we get to know about the buying opportunities? Clearly, the opportunities are there, as we've heard from the three speakers, but what do we do next? And for that, I have got two experts for you today. Tanya Hoyes is going to be joining us, as well as Chris Bennett. They're two individuals who will be joining us today for this part, which is going to be a panel conversation. Tanya Hoyes is the Executive Director, British and Columbian Chamber of Commerce, and member of the Ibero American Chambers Board in the United Kingdom. Her remit runs across strategy, operations, finance, SMEs, and more. And SMEs is really important for us in Central London and in IoD, because the bulk of our members are small and medium enterprises. So we're going to be talking about how the SME sector can really open up and scale up their businesses by looking at the LATAM regions with some of these countries. And Tanya is going to be focusing on Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia. And we also have with us today Chris Bennett. Chris is a long-standing member of the Caribbean Council, I think so, for more than 15 years. And he's the CEO today of a company that specializes in supporting investors in the Caribbean and Central America with strategic advice and business intelligence. So what do we want more? Strategic advice and business intelligence. So we're going to go through a few slides and then we're going to go through Q&As. And that's my final administrative point that I want to raise with you before I welcome Tanya on, which is Q&As. Please ask your questions, not in the chat, but in the Q&A box. So you will see right at the bottom, all of you have been attending Zoom webinars. There's a Q&A tab. If you could please add your questions there so that we can refer to them. You're allowed to vote your favorite questions. So get asking your questions and voting while we listen to the two speakers. So Tanya, may I welcome you here with us? Hi, Tanya.
Hello, Rina, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you. Tanya, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've got a great slide deck, which is going to talk about sectors, socioeconomic context, challenges, perception. So can I hand over to you for the next 7 to 8 minutes or so to take us through your slides, and then we come back to you with questions. So Tanya, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Rina. Thank you for that. And thank you all the IoD staff for hosting us today. We are delighted to collaborate with you and inform your members on the opportunities available for UK companies in Latin America. Today, I'm representing not my local chamber, but the Council of Ibero-American Chambers of Commerce, which is a consortium of 5 Latin American chambers in the UK, representing around 600 businesses with commercial links in Latin America and Spain, from investors, trading companies to professional services firms. I have been given the role today to speak about Latin America. I'm not going to talk about the specific countries, but the region in general. My colleague Chris from the Caribbean Council will be speaking about the Caribbean as the region, and I will share with you some insights on Latin America. It is important to know that part of our role is to support companies wishing to enter Latin America through the provision of information, contacts, and direct support, such as, for example, finding local partners. This is one of our most popular services. Next slide. No, that is like, okay. Initially, I want to start by discussing some of the perceptions of the region that are common among companies that come to us. Although most companies are aware of the abundance of natural resources, biodiversity, and beautiful tourist destinations, there are, however, some misperceptions that I will very briefly touch on, including market size, economic prospects, income levels, access to capital, corruption levels, and language barriers. In terms of market size, next slide, please. In terms of market size, Latin America is huge and diverse. The whole region has a population of 600 million, twice the size of the United States. More than 91% of the population are below 64 years old, and around 80% live in cities. In terms of the economic prospects, the region's GDP is half of China's, with Brazil providing 1/3 of the total GDP of the region. Economic growth in the region has been steady over the last couple of decades, with an average growth of 2.5% between 2000 and 2019. The expected average growth in 2021 is between 1 to 5%. In terms of income levels, poverty is still significant across Latin America, with 31% of the region below the poverty line in 2019. The average minimum wage ranges from $200 in Brazil to 440 in Chile. Of course, the COVID pandemic has had an impact on poverty levels, increasing the rates of the population living below the poverty line to 37%. Next slide, please. In terms of access to capital, most businesses that come to us praise the efforts by the local governments through favorable regulation towards foreign companies and innovation. In the last decade, some countries like Argentina, Colombia, and Mexico have incentivized the creation of hubs of technology innovation. Others, such as Colombia and Peru, have benefited from great investor confidence due to the political stability and friendly business environment, which has contributed to a growing interest among investors and, of course, subsequently access to capital. In terms of corruption levels, many countries in the region have made significant efforts to pass anti-corruption legislation in recent years. According to a corruption index by Transparency International, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Mexico, and Brazil have made significant improvements in recent years, mainly due to the significant efforts to pass anti-corruption legislation. In terms of language barriers, while English is spoken as a second language among business communities in Latin America and the Caribbean, it can not always be assumed that it is spoken at all levels. Some countries in Latin America perform better than others, including Argentina, Chile, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. They all appear in all the international rankings for English proficiency. In terms of opportunities, next please. Maybe the next one. I think we talk about all of this. Next, we are going to talk a little bit about opportunities. The economies of Latin America are, as I mentioned before, diverse. They are not dependent upon a single sector. We believe that all sectors could benefit from British expertise and products. However, due to the sensitivity in price and currency fluctuations, the product or services that you are offering not only has to be of competitive quality, but also should address the issue of flexible pricing to be successful. There are also particular sectors that are common to many Latin American countries that offer opportunities in the short term, including the ones that you can see there: infrastructure, all types of energy, tourism, and digital innovation. I will briefly touch on each of them. Next slide, please. Here you will see we have included a little bit of some of the most remarkable and large projects in the region, covering energy, roads, ports, and more. But as an emerging region, infrastructure and housing has historically lagged behind the rest of the world. Many governments across the region are investing heavily in infrastructure development in order to support economic growth. For example, in Colombia, the government ambitious 4G infrastructure plan launched in 2014 is now 40% complete. In Brazil, the government is looking to attract $56 billion in infrastructure investment by offering more than 100 private sector concessions by 2022. Next slide, please. In terms of tourism, of course, Latin America is a region with huge amounts of culture, natural beauty, and biodiversity, which until recently, aside from major destinations such as Mexico and Brazil, has been largely underexplored by tourists. However, in recent years, we have seen an explosion in the number of tourists visiting the region, which has created a large tourist industry across many countries in the region. For example, in Colombia, the tourist industry has grown for more than 300% between 2006 and 2019. As a result, international hotel brands have been opening up in the country, and chains like NH Hotels and Wyndham Hotels and Resorts are planning several new hotels in Colombia. We have included some statistics for you to see the potential of the industry and the projects in the short term. Next slide, please.
2 minutes courtesy reminder, please.
Oh my God. In terms of technology, I'm going to go quickly on this. So in terms of technology is another hugely exciting sector in Latin America. There is low penetrations of technology across the region. There is high internet usage and mobile app usage, which tells you a bit about the openness to innovation. The Latin American startup investment is growing from $500 million in 2016 to 4.6 billion in 2019. So there are significant opportunities there in technology too. Of course, renewable energy is a major sector of opportunity. The region produces around 45% of global copper, 50% of silver, 20% of gold, while controlling around 70% of the global lithium reserves, largely in Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina. Of course, Latin America is emerging as a green powerhouse with some of the strongest renewable capacity growth globally is expected in the next few years. Brazil, Chile, and Mexico already rank among the top 10 global renewable energy markets in terms of investment. And according to different analysts, it's expected that the region's capacity will skyrocket by 2025, driven largely by Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Colombia, and Argentina. Next slide, please. Next and final, I think. I think that to finalize, one of the most, I just wanted to include a little bit of the most frequently asked questions for companies when they approach the chambers. And the answer to those questions is contact us, contact our chambers, contact your trade advisor at the IoD to find accurate information, experts, and fast-track your operations in Latin America. I will share my details in the chat. Please contact me and I will refer you to the country of interest and the support available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tanya. And I know there's lots more that we could hear from you. I'm very conscious of time, but the good news for everyone who's there with us today, that at 7 o'clock, we are going to be releasing a networking link, which you can join us for the next half an hour from 7 to 7:40, where Chris, Tanya, and 2 other experts will be with us to further answer the questions that are there. So rest assured, we have saved up that time for you, but we do want to cover up the Caribbean region with Chris first, and maybe take up a couple of questions before we go into networking at 7 o'clock. So thank you very much, Tanya, and Chris, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rena. I'll just share my screen.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Is that appearing okay?
All good, Chris. Over to you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name's Chris Bennett. I'm the Managing Director of the Caribbean Council. We're a London-based organisation, membership organisation, which has been around since 2000, supporting primarily UK companies who are active and doing business across Caribbean and Central America. We also have a subsidiary, Calibri Corporate Advisory, which supports companies with market intelligence and due diligence and on-the-ground support. I'm going to cover some of the same ground as Tanya, but I'll just be focusing on Central America and the Caribbean. And I think my job today was really just to challenge perhaps some of the perceptions of the region and to get you thinking about different opportunities that there might be for you. So the first bit is that this part of the world is largely overlooked. People go racing to Colombia or Brazil, but forget to stop on the way in Guatemala, Panama, Dominican Republic, or any of the islands in the Caribbean. And actually coming together, there is a substantial market, 90 million consumers, around 600 billion per annum in GDP, 212 billion in imports, and some quite large economies, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Panama, with quite positive GDP per capita, and some of which compares favourably with the UK. So it's an interesting place, and countries which tend to get overlooked by international business, where you can actually develop quite an interesting niche for your business. It may be difficult to get started initially, but once you're there, you can stay for a long time. Many of our members have been in the region or in different countries in the region for decades. The integration of the region is very poor. Markets are very granular. And so whilst it's difficult to penetrate market after market, once you're there, it's difficult for your competitors to come in after you. There's also typically large local firms who are the king of the heap, if you like, locally, who make good partners and who can help you with local distribution, wholesale, or a local partner. I'll talk a little bit about COVID. COVID, I think, is for the Caribbean and Central America is a story largely of two parts. The Caribbean has been hit very heavily economically because of its massive dependence on tourism. But it hasn't suffered the same health impacts as elsewhere in the region. They were very, very quick to close the borders. They've had a very strict curfew regime, and largely they've managed to come out of it with relatively low loss of life. Regrettably, in Central America, I think the situation has been far more challenging. It does differ from one country to the other. But some of the countries, they've had some quite significant numbers of deaths, and I think some of the reporting is probably not overly reliable. So some of the lessons that have come out of it, I think, have been a focus on healthcare and the fact that healthcare provision in many of the countries is not up to scratch, and decades of underinvestment need to be corrected. Need to diversify economies away from tourism into other things so that they're not so dependent on external economic or things that are vulnerable to external economic shocks, and improving internet connectivity to allow delivery of online lessons, online business delivery, all of that sort of thing. It's really pushed a rapid acceleration of adoption of digital services and online shopping, which the Caribbean in particular and Central America have been probably lagging behind with, and those are all now moving ahead at a pace, and I think there's a big opportunity there to support them with those adoption of those technologies. So I wanted to just come on to 4 areas which interestingly mirror, I think, exactly the 4 areas which Tanya identified. But again, it's really just to point out to you that the region is a complex place, and it's not. We cover 36 different jurisdictions, from very small to very big, and all sorts of different issues apply, but if we take tourism and the real estate industry to start with, this is obviously the biggest industry in the Caribbean. Around 6.2 billion in investment in the industry each year, an industry that generates about $76 billion for the regional economy each year, and has over 60 million visitors each year. It's a huge importer of goods from around the world, high quality, highest quality goods of food, beverages, hotel equipment, leisure items, leisure craft, fine fixtures and fittings for hotels, you name it. A big importer, and a big importer of services, insurance services, digital marketing, health and safety, construction, architecture, tour operator services. And one of the challenges for the Caribbean has been that the industry started out, it was one of the first blue water destinations in the world, and its infrastructure is beginning to show that. And so to stay competitive, it needs to invest, and it needs to invest now. And so they're investing a lot of money, and they're looking to upgrade their properties. And so there is opportunity. And so that's the first sector. Second sector I wanted to come on to was energy and extractives. This is really two sectors, I guess. Energy demand in the Caribbean and Central America is massive, and is going to double by 2030. But with the exception of Trinidad and now Guyana, the region doesn't produce oil and gas, so they import all their oil and gas, and it's a massive challenge for them. So they're desperately trying to move to renewable, move to energy, become energy efficient, improve their energy generation, improve their distribution, transmission, look at new models of markets for their energy, and advice and support and technology in all of those areas is in massive demand. And so there's a big area of interest and opportunity there.
Chris, 1 minute courtesy check, sorry.
Okay, I shall rattle on. I should just name check then the fact that 8 billion barrels of oil equivalent have been discovered in the Guyana basin, and Guyana will now have more oil per capita than Kuwait. Oh no, equivalent, just less than Kuwait, but it's around the same as Kuwait, more than anywhere else in the world. It's going to become a very wealthy place and a very interesting place. So if you haven't looked up Guyana on the map, please do. Last one, I think we've talked about digital economy, so I won't go on about that. But transport infrastructure, these countries are largely very isolated, poor transport connections between them. There's a lot of need for port infrastructure, airport infrastructure updates, road infrastructure, and lots of new PPP type legislation, lots of IDB, World Bank finance to support projects, it's sometimes surprising the sorts of projects that you might find. They're not, there's some very high-end projects. There are 3 now rapid transit metro systems in the region, in Panama, San Juan and Santo Domingo. And that's perhaps not something that one would have anticipated in the past. I'll just finish with a quick going over the business and political environment and some of the challenges. Countries, there's particularly the islands, there tends to be a mistrust of outsiders, and you need to earn your trust. Markets are controlled by large domestic groups, and working how to work with them rather than against them is an important lesson. There are issues around linkages between politics and business because countries are so small. Tanya's talked a bit about corruption risks, and we can come on to that afterwards if it's helpful. And some of the issues around law and judiciary, again, we can come on to. Finally, we offer consultancy type services. We have a membership package, which we have about 100 companies in membership, and we do 3 market briefings which come out every week, which can be useful for you to find out about opportunities that are coming out. I hope I've broadly stuck within my 8 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Actually, the region, it's very evident that region has so many opportunities. We need more time than what we have today, but today was really about initiating the conversation and making the connection. So I'm so glad that people are going to stay connected. The good news is that IoD is going to be hosting a follow-up event, which will hopefully be a face-to-face event in Q3. So anybody who registered for today's program will have the invitation and the details, and it'll be probably hosted in one of the embassies, but we will reveal it all later on. So I'm very conscious that we've got a few minutes left over, but let me pick up one question that came up in the panel chat, and in case in the Q&A that came up, and if Chris and Tanya both can answer that. So, we hear about these business opportunity, and Janet, so much for us. Thank you for asking that question. Where do they come to know about trade opportunities in LATAM? Where would they go? Where would people come to know about LATAM trade opportunities? Is there a place? Tanya, Chris?
Yes, in our case, we post all the opportunities available, at least in Colombia, in our website. They are all live opportunities, but also I think you can get all the opportunities through your chambers. That's what we do in a daily basis. We identify opportunities, and then we disseminate those opportunities with UK companies.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Tanya, for that. Chris, was there anything you wanted to add on that?
Well, I think that question was probably directed at Jonathan Knott after his introduction, and obviously DIT have a very extensive directory of opportunities. For an organisation like ours, we support our members looking at their particular focus of interest, because obviously an opportunity for one company is irrelevant to another. So we tend to work with our members to help them find opportunities, but our market briefing is the way that we communicate general opportunities that we've identified.
Right, thank you so much for that, Chris, and for picking that answer for behalf of Jonathan as well. We've got a minute left before we need to close off the webinar, but as
Rena, this is Jonathan. I wonder whether I could come in. Yeah, can I come back? I'm sorry, I've turned my camera off because I've got a dodgy connection.
Don't worry,
yes.
please, we can hear you.
DIT has an enormously extensive opportunities database.
Lovely.
So I'd really encourage everyone who's listening, first of all, if you have a specific question, drop me a line on LinkedIn, as I said. But if you're interested more generally, please take a look at DIT's web presence, where you'll see all the opportunities around the world. You just have to register, and you'll have access to everything that our 160 people in the region discover and put there. Yeah.
Thank you.
For letting me come back.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks. That's really, really useful. So I'm going to be handing over very shortly to Andrew to close this section of the webinar with a massive thank you for panel. I know it was great information, great opportunities, and we'll unpack even further in the networking session. And for the three experts, thank you so much for being there. Andrew Lambert, as well as Ian Taylor, who's really put this program together. Thank you so much. Andrew, can I hand it back to you before we go into the next part? And thank you to the audience for joining us.
Thank you, Rena. As Rena said, we're going to sort of break shortly and go into a Q&A session, which you can all do online. So you'll need to drop this connection, and Vanessa will be pushing the link furiously into the chat. So do watch the chat area, and we'll push the link there for you to join for the next session. So I'm hoping as many of you as possible will come and join us. Nicola, there were a couple of slides just to finish on. So we have a program of events. There's arranged through April and May. The next event is an interview with Lord Bill Morey. He's the chair of the CBI. He's also chair of the Cobra Beer Empire, and also a founder of the Indian Business Chambers of Commerce Business Council. So that's a great event to follow up. I would like to really thank the two embassies, the Argentine, the Mexican embassies, for their tremendous support for this event, and also the Chambers of Commerce, Susanna Eccleston and Tanya Hoyo, and obviously Chris Bennett. Without their support, we would not have really been able to put this event together. So I'm hoping. Have you published the event? Have you here's the thing. Have you published the list in the Vanessa? Have you put the link in the chat, please?
Andrew, I've just done that right now.
Excellent, excellent. So if we're going to finish the call now, and hopefully many of you will join us in the next session, which will be a question and answer, which will be chaired by Rena. So good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining, and as I say, special thanks to the presenters who made such an interesting made this such an interesting event, and very, very, very useful.
Thank you, Andrew. And Nicola, if you could keep this open for the next 15 seconds, I'll open up the Zoom on the other side. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there, as well as Chris, Tanya, and a couple of others, Suzanne. For this roundtable. See you all in a bit.